Yeah, we'll give people just a couple more minutes to jump in and then we'll get started.
All right, I think we should go ahead and get started. I know it's a holiday for some here in the US, so we appreciate everyone that's going to join here live, but we also know that we want to make sure this is available as a recording to those that can't make it. We appreciate everybody's time, whether you're watching it live or the recording. We've got a lot again this week to get packed in, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So let me go ahead and share the presentation. So I'll make this quick. Again, this week is focused on more of the visibility in Azure. Efficiency hacking is what we call it. So we're going to focus on Azure Resource Graph. It's a tool that's available to all Azure customers. It's one of the most powerful and underutilized tools that are available to Azure customers. And so we're really excited for Chris Cavazuta to jump in and show us some of those capabilities. So last week we did a quick round of introductions. We'll do it again. If you're not familiar with Float or Cloud Service, I know there may be folks coming in from both sides. My name is Brian Garut, and I'm with Float FinOps, and we've got Cam on as well. So Cam, would you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Brian. I'm Cameron Kennedy here with Cloud Service. Super excited for you guys to join us for a little bit of background on the Cloud Service side. We are a Microsoft Solutions partner. We do CSP licensing along with Microsoft Professional Services for Microsoft 365 and the Azure stack. So super excited about the partnership we have with Float. They do a lot of great work on the efficiency side of Azure, making sure that all of the foundation is in place, that you feel comfortable to scale and know that you're going to be scaling efficiently and only paying for the resources that you absolutely need in the cloud, and then creating some of that transparency and some of the efficiency hacking things that we'll be going through in the webinar. So really looking forward to the presentation, and let us know if you have any questions afterwards. We'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, thanks, Cameron. Cloud Service is an incredible partner. They, can handle anything in the Microsoft stack, a top 1% Microsoft partner, and they really help with Azure support and making sure, walking alongside Float, that we can maximize the efficiency for customers. So this week we're going to focus on, again, the visibility portion of basically Azure management. But really the goal of the 3 webinars that we're putting on is better visibility, establish guardrails so that we can empower engineers to work faster and smarter and more cost effectively. So I touched on this last week. I'm not going to rehash, but maximum cloud efficiency to us is the highest possible business value with the lowest necessary cost, risk, and operational effort. It's not purely about saving money. It's about aligning and optimizing every aspect of cloud environments relative to the goals and objectives of the business. So like we touched on last week, there's a matrix that we like to talk to, and that that matrix speaks to the maximum efficiency, which is in the top right quadrant, and where we want to maximize the performance, reliability, security, and operational excellence of cloud environments, and do that at the lowest possible cost, operational effort, and risk. So the challenge that we find in that is it's not a static place that you can get to. Establishing efficiency and then maintaining efficiency are constantly fighting this down and to the left forces and trends. And those could be new business requirements. Those could be new capabilities within Azure. And so really, there's so many different things that we could touch on here that are kind of pulling you down into the left. And that's why we say that this is really hard work, and the work really never stops. So it's not some place that you're striving to get to. It's basically putting the tools and the processes and the people in place to make sure that you kind of maintain that up and to the right in the cloud efficiency matrix. So again, today we're going to talk about Azure Resource Graph. It's a really powerful visualization tool, and you can query your resources at scale. So the larger you get in terms of cloud spend, cloud resources, cloud environments, cloud subscriptions, the more powerful this tool is going to be for you. So again, I guess just high level, it's efficient and performant resource exploration. You can query resources at scale. You can uncover waste. You can help to analyze and enable governance and chargebacks. There's so many different things that we can get to here that I want to kick it over to Chris Capizzuto, and he'll touch on some of the core capabilities and give you a few use cases that you can take away today. And so with that, Chris, I'm going to leave it to you.
Thank you, Brian. Sharing my screen as soon as I find the right screen. There we go. Can you see my screen?
We can.
All right, perfect. Let me bring out my notes. So the Azure portal, it had a lot of information. And as you start deploying your resources, one of the major problems we see is that the built-in dashboards and the built-in views that Azure offer out of the box may not accommodate to every single scenario in terms of what you have. This is my test sandbox where I do demos, and I have a couple of resources here that I use to be able to test different things. So if I were to go to my subscriptions, I can see the list here, which is that pay-as-you-go subscription, and I can see my invoice. I get a lot of different information. If I go to the settings and I go to list my resource group, I should provide some level of organization of the hierarchy levels where I have my management groups, my subscriptions, and then my resource groups. And inside my resource groups, I have my actual resources. In this case, let me go ahead and do the hybrid benefit one. On the hybrid benefit, I have deployed a couple of virtual machines. I have a virtual network. But if I want to go see the power status of these machines to see if they're running or if they're allocated, I gotta go each one of those. And here, whenever I go to that virtual machine, I get a lot of information about this virtual machine. I can see here that it's running, it's deployed on South Central US, it's my pay-as-you-go subscription. I can see both the name and the ID. I can see the operating system that is running on. I can also see the size, which the size is something critical when it comes to Azure, because it's not only how much power am I giving this machine, but also how much I'm going to have to pay for it. I can see if they have a public IP, the virtual network that is attached to, any DNS name, the health state, when it was created. And if I scroll down, I can see a lot more information. However, I had to go all the way here to see this on a virtual machine. So as now I have 300 virtual machines deployed on my system, if I want to see the power status of all of those, I'm going to spend a lot of time just navigating to each one of these resources. And granted, I can make my life a little bit easier by saying, you know what, I'm only looking at virtual machines. Let me make this like a work list. And now I can work my way down the list. This is not the right way of doing it. And in order for us to operate efficiently on the cloud, we build dashboards, we build reports. And the language that we use to be able to get the information we need, it's called custom query language, or KQL. KQL is another language such as SQL. It allows us to query things and get information from those things. Everything on Azure is defined at a control plane. And that control plane, there's the definition of everything that we have deployed, everything that we're going to get invoiced for, it will be there. There's a couple of ways of getting there. But first, before we expose that, I would like to show you that even everything that we are looking at here is built with that. Most of the screens, Azure will show me this button here, which first I have my create, but to add any resources. As I work my way down the list, I can export my list if I want to work on this on Excel. But also, I can open this as a query. And if I click this button, it will take me to a screen called the Azure Resource Graph Explorer. And Microsoft had a little hiccup here. It's supposed to load with the actual query that was run for that screen. Let me try that again. Open query. There we go. So in this case, I did it from the resource group, and it actually gave me the filter for the resource group. And if I go ahead and run this, this is the query that is building this screen on the back. So in order for Microsoft to show me, for example, this location name that way, they're doing some manipulation to this. If I go to it did it again. Come on, Microsoft. I'm gonna close this query, go back over here. In order for, it's it like collapse here? New query, close query, go back. The UI is having some hiccups today, like collapsing on itself.
Now imagine you're trying to do this against hundreds of different resources.
Exactly. So if I open a new query, right, since the query explorer from the view is not working the way that it's intended to, I can build my own queries. And Microsoft does a lot of manipulations to be able to reflect these screens. But everything here is built on queries. Everything that we see on the UI, it's doing a query on the back. It's a graph query on the back to fetch this information. One is the reason why it usually works really fast, because KQL queries are extremely fast. It's just fetching metadata. So if I go back, in this case, I'm going to go directly to the view. I will type on my search bar Resource Graph Explorer, not Azure Resource Graph Explorer. And whenever I get to that view, I get to open a new query. And I get this table or categories here on the side that I can look up for what I'm looking for. In my case, I know I'm going to be querying the resource table, but that is not the only data source that we have. We have containers, we have health resources, we have AKS resources, and those reflect different type of information for those For the purpose of this demonstration and the purpose of this guidance, we're going to use primarily the resource table. So I can be as easy as just typing the word resources. And in my environment will work because I only have like 20 things, but in your environment, this may not work correctly, or it will take a long time. Say 20 things, it was a little bit more than that, 31. And here I can see the list of all my resources. I can see the IDs, I can explore, I can navigate. And most of what I do whenever I walk into a new customer or whenever I need to explore my environment will be explorational. I can look at an ID and I'm saying, hey, I want to look at this specific resource. So I can search and I can filter by that. I can say, you know what? I'm in a condition where, and the IntelliSense is really smart, it will autocomplete most of your statements. ID is equal to this one here. Then I can run this, and it will just return me that resource. So really easy, I can filter to get a specific view on the type of resource I'm looking for. I could be, let's say, just looking for resources on the location equal to South Central US. In this case, I can change my location. And now I'm only getting resources on that region, which is extremely helpful when I'm trying to generate reports to say, hey, I want to know, I want a report of all the virtual machines on this region. But the true power comes from being able to explore properties that are not visible at the surface. Whenever we walk into that virtual machine screen, if I go back to that, if I go to the search bar and type virtual machine, it will give me a report of all the virtual machines. Here, it gives me a lot of information. It's already giving me this location, this power status, the operating system, the size, the public IP, and then the update status. But what if I want something else? So it's not here. I can go to the open query. Now I did it. Now I can modify that query and being able to bring up whatever I want. But I can also type it from scratch. I can say, hey, from virtual machines, since I'm doing explorational, so I really don't know what I'm looking for. I don't know what's available. So let's click on that view detail, and that will parse the entire JSON file, and it will the top level properties, it will make it pretty, and then any secondary level properties will make it on JSON. In this case, pretty much all the information was always going to be inside properties. So inside properties, I can have things such as encryption. Let's say I want to check if encryption is enabled. So it's here. For blob is enabled. Is there any private connection? And I'm looking at a storage account, and this is why it's showing me the endpoints and everything. Let's look at a virtual machine. So in this case, let's filter by type. If you don't know how the type is spelled out, you can just bring all your resources, or you can do a summary. Filter by type, and I'm going to say type equals to. And now, wait, what did I do wrong? Type. So now I only have a list of my virtual machines. And from my virtual machines, if I go to the details, I can see that, hey, what if I want to bring the user administrator account name to the top to see maybe any of the user administrators are different? I can look on this property list, and it's like admin user, which is inside OS profile, which is inside top level storage profile, which is inside properties. Properties. And in order to filter or change the list of resources that I want to see, I can use a keyword project. In order to filter things, I use where. In order to filter the columns on display, I use the word project. And in this case, I want to project the properties. And inside properties, we said that it was storage profile. Profile, and then no, it's OS profile. It's the next level. And then inside OS profile, we have admin username. If I run, there we go. So here I can say I put the same name on pretty much all of them, except one. And if I open the details, that's the only property that I'm calling out, so I'm not gonna be able to see anything else. However, I can tell this comma also bring me all the properties, so I can do exploration. And now I get that JSON file that I was looking at earlier, and I get to see anything else that I may want to add. I can see like the name of the virtual machine that have the different. So what this allows us to do, not only to quickly being able to create reports or quickly being able to search for things on the environment that otherwise will have been extremely tedious and time consuming to be able to execute. But the real practical usage of this is to be able to build reports, build graphs. One of those things would be, hey, I have something called hybrid benefit, which if I have the licenses to this software, I may have a flag that I don't have to pay Microsoft for these resources, and I need to ensure that all my resources are in compliance with that all my resources have hybrid benefit enabled. So I can bring up the property ID. And then I want inside properties, and I want to look for that hybrid benefit, which is, I know the name already, which is license type. License or OS type. Maybe I didn't know the name already. Let me pull the Windows one. Which one is the Windows one? Trusted platform, canonical. This is another Linux. Through the list. The Linux configuration, OS profile. But it looks like it's not gonna be showing it today.
So Chris, while you're searching for it, I was just going to jump in because we've already touched on a couple of different things. One is, let's just say, could be security related in terms of the admin user and making sure that there's standardization there. Now we're looking at Azure Hybrid Benefit, which is more of a rate optimization capability. So, you know, we're already kind of giving you examples of how you can use this in governance and security, but also in the cost optimization capabilities. And you can build multi-level reports like Chris is talking about. So Chris, I'm sorry. Back over.
I was doing the wrong example because my subscription have that disabled. Let me go back to the actual plan. So one of the other things is to be able, from this example where I was going to, it's to be able to summarize. And in order to summarize, right, I may want, the example was for the hybrid benefit, how many of them have hybrid benefit enabled, how many of them don't have hybrid benefit enabled. In my case, since my sandbox is already built for hybrid benefit, I have that enabled on all of them. So it wouldn't have been a good example. So in terms of the resources, I may want to see, like, what are the resources that I have deployed on my subscription and how many of them I have. So I use the keyword summarize. And inside of summarize, I can use the count by type. And with this, I can get all the resources. I know that on my subscription, I have 5 virtual machines. Therefore, I will have 5 disks. I have my storage account, the network. Then I have 2 network watchers because I do have this deployed into different regions. So this gives me a quick overview of what I have. And I can use these metrics into dashboards. I can also then use the KQL to tell me, hey, what is my distribution of operating systems? So the way that we were doing exploration, right? Inside property, we have storage profile, OS, and OS type. Then I can also bring the size. And this will give me my list of virtual machines, but bubbling up which one is my Windows, which is on the name, and then what sizes do I have. I can do things such as, hey, I want to look up and see which one, or if I have wastage. And one of the good things that happen, or well, not good things, but one of the things that happen with wastage is I can have a virtual machine, and if I delete that virtual machine, there are certain resources that get created with the virtual machine, but do not get deleted as part of the virtual machine deletion process. So in this case, I don't think I have any of them here. I keep this environment pretty clean. But in this case, I'm looking for resource, and I'm looking for public IPs. And then I'm looking for where the configuration, IP configuration, it's null, it doesn't have an ID. I could also look for the managed by the category. If I run that, not liking it because is it for the uppercase? It's not finding anything in this case. I don't have any public IPs that is not attached to anything. What about tags? One of the government's compliant things that we want, and in this scenario is perfect because I have not tagged any of these machines. I don't have any policies for tags here. So I can create things such as, hey, search for all virtual machines and look for tags. And some tags is somewhat of a dictionary where the environment is blank. If I do that, I get all my machines. Now let's go ahead and correct that. I'm gonna go to the rel machine and virtual machines here, my rel machine. And I'm looking for the tags. Then I'm gonna copy that property. I'm gonna say demo. Now apply that tag. I'm gonna go ahead. Now environment is safe. If I go back to the resource graph and I recall this query, still showing. Microsoft is amazing about this. So it may take a couple minutes for the tag to reflect. If I go open that rel machine, still not showing me the tag, but it's now showing it on the UI. Refresh here. This is the same one. Yep. It already have the tag. Oh, go ahead. Oh, now it's not showing. There we go. So we lost that machine. Sometimes it takes a couple minutes between the graph to synchronize. But now I don't have that machine anymore. It's not part of my report. So this allows me to create reports of action items where I need to create an action such as delete unattached disk. And I can look up for whatever doesn't have the tag or whatever is not attached to something and create those action items. I can filter. In this case, I only have one subscription, but I'm just covering this for sake of completion. If I query all my resources, actually, two of my properties will be, I have my tenant ID, which in this case is multiple subscriptions inside a tenant, and this user only have access to the subscription. But I can also filter by that. I can say where subscription is equal to double equal. There you go. And in this case will be that subscription ID. And now we'll filter out just the resources. And I can stack where clauses on top of each other to keep filtering my query, right? I only want the resources inside the subscription and on this location. And I only want them to be virtual machines. If I then go take this knowledge, and keep in mind, right, we're only looking at the resource table. Here you have a lot of different tables that could use for different things. One of them, one of my favorite ones, will be policy compliance, but we also have the advisor. And if I just query everything on the advisor, it will give me all the recommendations that my system is utilizing. Why would I want that? Automation. So if I need to create automations, right, there's libraries where I can query with the resource graph, either through PowerShell or through APIs. And I can put these queries, and then I can get the data that I need, or in this case that I want. That will give me the same result set that I have on this view. This view is separated by cost. I have 5 on cost, 16 on reliability, 5 on operational excellence, performances, and then security is also checked. So I have all these recommendations. Hey, maybe I want to create a recurrent task that looks for the Azure resource graph and returns me the list of machines that are on power state stop. So I can push those queries to return me those. The other way that I will utilize this is with workbooks. So Microsoft give me the ability to use workbooks that they create, and they give me the ability to create workbooks from being empty. In this case, let's reuse ones that they already have created. And we have, for example, the cost optimization one. And on the cost optimization workbook, which is on preview, we have rate optimization. And if I look here, it's looking at resources that I could reserve. It's looking at any reservations that I could potentially do. If I go to have a report for hybrid benefit, it's telling me that there's one resource that doesn't have hybrid benefit enabled, which is only looking at that only Windows virtual machine that I have. But all this, if I click edit and I click here on the code, you'll see that they have a bunch of definitions, but then you have queries. And those queries, if you remove the space ones, you will see that these are just KQL queries. I can copy this, and I can go to the Graph Explorer. So give me a new resource, paste. Of course, I need to format it properly. I should just have do a control replace.
So Chris, you're teasing a little bit our next webinar in terms of looking at advisor workbooks as well. But, you know, I think you saw that last week in our webinar on Azure policy and how we were using Azure Resource Graph to be able to bubble up some of the resources during that call. And now you can see how Azure Resource Graph works with advisor workbooks as well. So all of these things combined are all powerful tools at your fingertips. And so you can kind of see how they work together, and then the individual capabilities that Chris is showing.
So from here, we see I'm filtering and I'm getting the resource group. I'm filtering by the tags, and then I'm bringing the tags that I have on the system, and that is being used on the advisor workbook. I can see anything that is on that view is already filtered by those. So if you want to get advanced, right, and you want to be able to start modifying this and create your own views, your first step in knowledge is to get good at being able to do KQL queries. ChatGPT can help you building up. Most of the time, it will just get some reference wrong. But with some basic knowledge and exploratory behavior, you can go through and see, oh, it's thinking that this is a property, but that doesn't exist. Let me bind it back to the resource ID and do that exploratory work. It will get you really far. Looking at the workbook, right? Keep in mind, every workbook, even the workbooks that Microsoft give you, all of them are built with this language. If I go back to the workbooks and I go back to this cost optimization, I can see, for example, they have resource utilization and on storage. I have storage on version 1, and I have another view for manage this, and the manage this will look at unattached disk, which is one of the preferred views for anybody that have a high environment with virtual machines. Again, all this on the back is just KQL queries to be able to build those views. The other one will be dashboards. So if I'm on a view, and let's say, I don't like that one. Sure, let's use this one. No, actually, let's use account 1. Simplification. Give me a new query. So let's say I have this query, I run it, and it gives me the OS version, I mean the OS type, and it gives me the size. And Brian really likes this query, so he wants to use it. I can save this. And whenever I save it, I can say, hey, I'm going to give it a name. And this will be VMs, OS, and size. And then I can make it private or share. If I make it private, it's only visible to me. If I share it, it will ask me, where do you want to save this? The location is just for metadata, and then there's the subscription where I'm saving it. I can go ahead and save that. And now I can click here on Open Queries. I say, I want to look at the share queries. And on my subscription, resource group, it's going to take a minute. So the queries will be here. Any query that I will save, the same thing for Brian. Whenever he logs in onto this account, he will be able to see the queries here. We could both share it. But at the same time, I can take this view and I can pin it to a dashboard. And then here I can choose, hey, I want to share dashboard, and I don't have any share dashboards. I can pin it to my recent dashboard. Now this view will go ahead and display it. This is another operation that does take a couple minutes. So let's see if it's dashboards. Share that. No, I'm not sure. Private dashboards. My dashboards. There we go. I have a couple queries. But here I can see my queries, and then I can come to the dashboard view, and I can move these things around, edit. I can customize it, but I can move my views. All right, so I have my VM view here. Actually, this is not the VM view. This is not the VM view either. There we go. And the dashboard itself even give you these metric changes depending on the size of the screen you're displaying. So if you're displaying like a static view or monitor on a data center or somewhere, it gives you like the resolution so you can make sure that everything is within view. So I can resize this to the level I want, and I can make it larger. Now I can see all the information of my virtual machine, if any of them is on status. It's on the different location, or it have a different size that is not the one that I'm looking for. I can do the formatted view. But this then allows me to create views or create dashboard that can be shared across my enterprise and viewed by different people, let's say stakeholders or support people or even infrastructure. This time I am closing out at time. I have 1 more minute before I close it up. Actually, so Brian, any questions?
No, I mean, I think this is great. I think this touches on the capabilities of the individual queries that you're building, and then being able to put these into a dashboard view. If you're a cloud leader, this all of a sudden gives you the power to be able to equip your specific teams with information that's pertinent to them, and you can create your own global dashboard and do this in a way where it's using these queries to constantly stay up to date with various different states or configurations or misconfigurations within your environment. And so I think this is good, Chris, because this touches on some of the capabilities. It gets a little technical. Obviously, there's a whole lot more depth that we could go into here, but this is meant to be a little bit of a teaser and to show off some of the capabilities. We're going to provide some of the documentation to where you can go ahead and do your own self-paced learning as well. But the goal is to really just highlight what some of the capabilities are and not go too deep. Now, if you do want to go a little bit deeper, I guess this is where we can kind of get into a little bit of a shameless plug, but you know, Cloud Service and Float are here to help. This is what we do day in and day out. So whether it's helping you to create specific chargeback reports or help you with implementing certain processes or just digging really deep into your environments to highlight where there's waste and opportunities to optimize. We have actually our own platform that we've built that really aggregates a lot of this information and then allows us to help to build strategic plans that we can execute alongside your teams. So what that means is that we essentially can supercharge your capabilities by bringing the expertise in the platform and really then helping you drive accountability throughout your organization. We can help establish better governance. We can help establish better visibility, and with the end goal of really creating highly efficient environments in Azure that allow you to continue to scale and grow right along with the individual needs of the business. So if you feel like it's worth a conversation, please reach out to Cloud Service. Please reach out to Float. Here's how you can reach us. Pretty easy. We can also, you know, tailor specific trainings or assessments, and then of course the advisory and support capabilities that come along with that as well. So that's it for this week's webinar. Next week we're going to be back, same time, same place. June 26th, we're going to be diving into Advisor Workbooks. So Chris highlighted some of the basic capabilities in terms of being able to customize workbooks. Workbooks are really just built on a whole bunch of queries, and we're going to take a little bit deeper dive into some of the newer, I'll say, workbooks and capabilities within those workbooks that make life that will help make your life a little bit easier. So again, the recordings and the documentation will be provided after the call. We'll also include a recap so that hopefully if you want to jump back to specific sections, you can do that. But we look forward to seeing everyone next week, same time, same place, or we'll provide the recordings. Thanks, everyone.